So here is video number 2 for the area and perimeter section, and this one is on triangles, just triangles. Okay, again, just to repeat, from the rectangles section, you still don't need to memorize any of these formulas. They're all going to be given to you on the test. But the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Now the important part between the base and the height, the base, usually when you hear that word base, you think that that means bottom, but that's not always true. Base and height together, these are always going to form a 90-degree angle. So in the picture I have drawn here, here's my right angle. So yes, this would be the height, and that is the base. Okay, and then 1/2, when you're going to plug this in a calculator, remember that 1/2 is equal to 0.5, so that might make it a little bit easier. 1 divided by 2 gives you that 0.5. And perimeter, there's no formula for perimeter, it's just add up the 3 sides. But be careful, this does not mean the height. The height is an imaginary line that happens inside this triangle. A height is a line that goes from the vertex of a triangle and it makes a right angle with the opposite side. That's the definition of height. It's also known as the altitude. It could be called that. But I could draw a height coming from this vertex if I wanted to. I could draw a line that would make a 90-degree angle, and then this would also be a height. That would just be a different altitude. If that was my height, then this side here would become my base. Okay, so there's not just one height of a triangle, but remember, either way, you are not including that in your perimeter. Height is an imaginary line on the inside, and perimeter is adding up all 3 sides on the outside. So, for our first triangle here, okay, area and perimeter. Remember, area is 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to turn that 1/2 into a 0.5. Now, base and height, remember you're looking for the right angle. So there it is. So my base is going to be that 37, and my height is 46. So when you multiply all of that out, you get 851. And don't forget your units. Just like rectangles, with area, the millimeters will be squared. And then for perimeter, we're just going to add up all 3 sides. So not the height, not that dotted line on the inside, but just 48, 37, and 60. And when you add all 3 of those up, you get 145. And remember, perimeter is just normal units. We're not going to square those. Okay, so again here, just another orientation of the triangle, but really it's just trying to let you figure out where the height and the base are. So here's my right angle. So the area will be 1/2 26 times 16. And that's going to be 208. And then adding up all 3 sides would be 18, 26, and 20. Again, don't include that dotted line, the height, and that's going to be 64. Now, right triangles are a little bit different. Notice that there's no height drawn, meaning that there's no dotted line. Well, that's okay. If you have a right triangle, there's your right angle. This 15 yards, even though it's on a side, that's going to act as your height, and this 8 would be the base. Because remember the definition of height. The definition of height is that it's a line coming from the vertex, and it makes a 90-degree angle with the opposite side. So that 15 fits that definition. So your area is going to be 1/2 15 times 8, which gives you an area of 60 square yards. And then our perimeter, we don't have to worry about the height now because we can just add up all three sides. And that gives us 40 yards. Now, this one looks a little crazy. Okay? Every single vertex in a triangle is going to have its own height. But what happens when you go to draw the height, remember from a vertex, and it makes a 90-degree angle with the opposite side. Here's my 90-degree angle, but there's no side happening out here. It's touching another imaginary line. So this one gets a little bit tricky. When you go to find the base and height for this, 6 is your height, but your base is 7. It's not 10. You ignore that imaginary line. That does not matter at all. All that matters is what side would that 90-degree angle be made with. So it would be made with that side 7. It just had to be extended a little bit. But however much it needs to be extended doesn't matter. We don't need that 3 feet at all. So it's just 1/2 7 times 6, which gives us 21 square feet. And then perimeter, again, is just adding up all three sides. So 15 plus 6.5 plus 7 gives us our perimeter of 28.5 feet. Remember, we don't include any dotted lines in our perimeter, so just the three sides of the triangle. And this also brings up another good point. If you notice, usually when we go through these, the area, the number is bigger than the perimeter. But it's okay for the perimeter to be bigger. These are different units. These are square units, that's talking about covering an area. And these are just regular units, so they're talking about length. So it's okay that this number is bigger. You're not wrong. It's okay. They're two different units. So you're not always going to have an area that's bigger than the perimeter. So here's another one where you have to use a ruler. So we want to measure all three sides because that's going to give us our perimeter. So this side is 6 centimeters. This side is 7.3, and this bottom is 5.8. So let's just start with the perimeter because that one's already done for us after you find all three sides, and that's going to be 19.1. And again, you're going to get a little bit of leeway here. So if you're off by 0.1, like if you had 7.4 here, that's okay. You're still fine. Now, the area, we need a height, because area is 1/2 base times height. Now, you can pick whichever side you want. I can start over here and draw a line. I could start here and draw a line, or I could start here and draw a line. Most of you, I'm sure, are going to start at the top and draw a line straight down. The tricky part is you need it to be a right angle. So I know that it might not be perfect. Again, I know there's human error, but you want to try to get it as close to straight up and down as you can so that this makes a 90-degree angle. When I did this and measured it, I got about 5.8. So if that's the height I'm using, then my base and height would both be 5.8. But let's say you started here and drew your line this way. Well, then that would be your height, whatever that measurement is, but 7.3 would be your base. And if you had started here and drew your line this way, then that line would be your height and 6 would be your base. So you can choose. Wherever you draw your height, that's the base that would go with it. So I did that one, and my area ended up being 16.82. And again, we're always going to round to one decimal place, so 16.8 centimeters squared. And our last one here, we have to draw our own picture, which is fine. You don't have to draw the picture perfect or to scale. The height of a triangle is 10 yards. The base of a triangle is 20 feet. So here's my triangle. The height is 10 yards, and the base is 20 feet. Now, we know we cannot have yards and feet together in a triangle. And they want our answer in feet, so I have to change this. Yards. So there's 3 feet in 1 yard. So to turn this 10 yards into feet, I'm just going to multiply by 3, which makes it 30 feet. So they only want the area. We couldn't find perimeter anyway because we're missing 2 sides. So the area is 1/2, the base is 20, the height is 30. And so that's going to give us 300 square feet. So the big thing to remember about triangles is that the base and the height always make a 90-degree angle, so you always need to look for that. And you're just adding up all 3 sides to find the perimeter. If you don't understand any of this, you can watch this video again, you can look at the completed notes, or you can ask me and I can clarify or answer any questions that you might have.